Good morning. At least for about 10 more minutes. We have now entered the fourth Sunday of Easter. And as typical in every year, the fourth Sunday of Easter, even though the readings may change a bit, but this fourth Sunday of Easter every year provides for us a beautiful image of the Good Shepherd and his sheep. Now, I have to be honest with you, I struggle a bit with this image of the sheep. I am not a shepherd, so my experience with sheep is very, very limited to about petting zoos. But I look at them and they seem kind of dirty. They kind of have things always stuck to their wool. Don't smell the best. They often have stuff coming out of their noses, drool. And from what I'm told, they're not very smart. In fact, a priest friend of mine told me, Barry, they're just plain dumb. Oh. But then again, I also think that there are many times in my life that I don't do very smart things. And I need a good shepherd. Boy, do I need a good shepherd. The shepherd who knows his sheep well, personally, intimately. He knows all of their personalities and all of their struggles. He knows their joys and their sufferings. The good shepherd knows his sheep better than the sheep themselves know themselves. And even though those sheep may be mixed amongst other sheep, other flock, when they hear the good shepherd's voice, they recognize it and they trust unfailingly to follow that voice, to follow the Good Shepherd. And what does the Good Shepherd do for them? He leads them to where he provides everything that they need, their food, their water, their shelter. As a matter of fact, he provides for them so much that there is nothing else that they shall want. And with his rod and his staff, he guides them and defends them. The Good Shepherd provides not just life, but abundant life. And at the end of the day, again, following, completely trusting his voice, he leads them back to the sheepfold. An interesting thing about that sheepfold, in Jesus' time, they didn't have these things as bars or doors that they could close the enclosure, the sheepfold in. No, there was always this opening. And the Good Shepherd lays down his life to literally cover the opening so that he controls what goes in and what goes out of the safe area. The Good Shepherd is literally the gate. Christ as the gate is the invitation for us to come into his life, to enter into his grace and into his love, to be fully immersed into his life. He offers us that today, and really every day. It's not much different from what we heard a couple of weeks ago on Divine Mercy Sunday when those apostles were in the locked room right after Jesus resurrects, and he appears to them. Thomas is not with them. And then a week later, Thomas is with them when he appears. And Jesus invites Thomas to come. Put your hand into my wounds. Enter into my side. Enter into my life. Christ makes it very clear in today's gospel that he is the gate, inviting us to enter fully and completely and immerse ourselves fully and completely into his life, his love, his grace. And there's no other way to get into the sheepfold than to go through him. There are those, and there are often times that I myself, I try to think I know better. I think there are other ways that I can come up with. I think there are maybe easier ways that I can control, that I can climb over the stone walls myself, or somehow go around the gate myself. But Jesus, as the gate, reminds me that there's only one way in, and that's through the gate. That's through him. And so what do? Well, we have to find ourselves listening for the voice. Listening for the voice and then following it. And that requires us to be silent. Because it's in the silence in which Christ, the Good Shepherd, leads us to the repose and the restful waters. That's what God desires for us. He desires for us to rest in him. And Christ, the Good Shepherd, the gate, is the path through which we go in silence. So, I have to ask you then, how are you doing with your Lenten resolutions? I know you're probably sitting there thinking, well, wait a minute, Lent ended. We're 4 weeks into this, Deacon Barry. Okay? Well, this hits rather personal for me because this Lent, I committed myself to find myself in more silent times with the Lord. To find God and to rest with him, just to be with him in the silence. I would drive to work, and most of my driving actually I do by myself, and I wouldn't put the radio on. Or at work, I would maybe close my door a bit and sit in my office in the silence and find God in the midst of my work. At home, maybe I didn't put on the TV as much, and as I worked around the house or as I sometimes cooked, I found God in the silence, in the midst of my home as I was cooking. Or working at the diocese, I have the advantage of every now and then going on up to the chapel at the diocese and spending a little more time with the Lord in silence, just to be with him. It's been a wonderful, wonderful Lent. And because it brought me so much closer to God, so much more into his life, that I've tried to continue that even into the Easter season. Why would I want to give that up? Why would I want to stop doing that? Just because Lent ended and now we're in the season of Easter. I've tried to continue it. It's been a wonderful experience and journey to experience the Good Shepherd in hearing his voice and discerning his call. And it leads us to what we heard in the first reading today. When all of those others were there present and they asked Peter, what are we to do? So what are we to do on this day? Well, it's to kind of echo and follow exactly what they did. That they committed themselves to hear the voice and follow it, to be obedient to the Lord's call. to submit themselves completely and totally to his will, to hear the voice and follow it. So I offer you this to reflect on as you go about the busyness of your week, and hopefully find yourself in moments of prayer and silence. How are we hearing the voice of the Good Shepherd? And how are we following the lead of the Good Shepherd? What are the things that I need to take out of my life? Because those things are preventing me from hearing his voice and then from following him. What are the things that, for some reason or another, I think I have to control? I have to be the one. And in doing so, they prevent me from following the Good Shepherd. But more importantly, maybe, why do I feel that I have to do that? And what would it take to give it up? In the end, the question is, don't I want and yearn for the peace and the calm that the Good Shepherd offers me if I hear his voice and follow it to come to rest in him? It's a pretty clear-cut choice. It's not easy, but it's pretty obvious what our choice is. Christ, the Good Shepherd, offers us something very real. His life. His abundant life. And it's a life that never falters. It's a life that is firm and always endearing, always inviting us to enter ever more deeply into his love, into his grace. All we have to do is be silent, to hear it, and to follow it. And in doing so, follow it to come to rest, come through the gate and rest in him.